Hello folks, it's Francesco here. Today I'm going to be diving into my Todoist setup and workflow. I want to give you an idea of how I'm using Todoist now. Last time we chatted, I was actually using things through for about 4 months. So I'm going to explain that journey at the start. Then we'll dive into the sort of core elements and how I use Todoist. You can always skip ahead using the timestamps if you just wanted to experience the sort of workflow side of stuff, and I can hopefully share the changes to time blocking that I've been doing too. If you are new here, it'd be great to have you as a subscriber. We do a little bit of different content compared to Keep Productive, so hopefully you can join us for sort of tours about how I use productivity applications, my opinions on the space as well. Hopefully it interests you. So as you can see here, this is my Todoist account. As I said, I was using Things 3. My story with that is that in essence it was a workflow issue. So I moved over to Things 3 back about 5 months ago, and the main reason behind that was I thought I was overloading my system with too many tasks in the today area. And whilst I was thinking, that might be a project-based problem, it actually wasn't. It was more of a productivity problem with myself. So as you can imagine, thinking that Things 3 had a better project management setup, I moved over there. Now I've only moved to Things 3 twice historically, and it's always ended with a sort of 3 to 6 months off in total, as in like working on that platform and then coming off and going back to Todoist. So collectively with Todoist, I've been using it almost 10 years. So I haven't, at the same time, I'm always learning about how to improve my system, and I think I've found a solution to that. So let's have a look at my Todoist setup. As you can see here, you can see considerably less amount of tasks when it comes to work instantaneously. Now the main reason behind that is because what I'm now doing is planning my workday around theme slots. So there's a concept from Mike Vardy called day theming. There's a great Skillshare class on it actually. But basically, instead of doing a bunch of different stuff and filling up my to-do list with 10 plus things, I'm doing 2-hour blocks of time 3 times a day. So for example, here you can see admin, recording on a Monday. And what I do is actually go to my Google Calendar with the two-way sync on Todoist, which I'll show you in a moment. I then create an event. So for example, recording here. If I were to do this just for example's sake and put admin P3, in a moment, it should come up in my Todoist as a created area. So essentially it speaks to my Todoist, sends that as a task. And what I can do is then fill that up. So if I went to today, you can see admin's already appeared. Let's just close that. Admin's already appeared. And what I'll start doing is filling the subtasks up with tasks. But really helpful because I'm actually blocking periods of time based on the theme of the work versus just a bunch of different type of work. So for example, recording now, I'm doing 6 or 7 tasks inside of that 2-hour block, which is really helpful. And it's definitely changed the way that I'm working, because I don't know whether you can see instantaneously, I haven't planned past Tuesday, but instantaneously, although I'm creeping into bad habits here, Right Medium just randomly posted there, I'm instantaneously improving the way that I'm not overloading myself with work, and I'm sort of narrowing it down to stint work, which I'm really enjoying much more of, because as you can imagine, sometimes when you're doing this type of work, it's important to keep trying to be smarter with the way that you're doing it. So for example, if I'm recording, I want to do it as a batch. I don't want to be doing it every single day or 3 times a day or every 2 days with on and off for half an hour. I want to be doing it in blocks. So that's definitely something I've learned from Mike Vardy. Appreciate it, Mike. And as you can imagine, starting to implement it in my system. So I'll just show you on Monday. This is what it looks like in my Google Calendar. I keep my Google Calendar fairly fresh, but I've got a separate, as you can see down here, I've got a separate calendar for that specifically. So really helpful in terms of what's coming up. I would say also the one thing that I found was a little bit of a problem was actually all right, I've got all these themes, but I have a bunch of tasks that are just coming in for those themes, and how do I amass them without overloading these subtasks or understanding it? And I do that by using work as a project. So I have 3 main projects daily, which is personal life, work, and house move, just a small short-term project. But you can see here, these are all the different themes. So scripting, engaging, that's communicating, social media, writing, recording, calls and meetings, planning, strategy, admin. So you can see what I mean. I'm literally just dumping stuff here without any due dates necessarily, and then it helps me for when I'm doing a specific batch of tasks. Then I can go in and I can find, right, okay, I said I'd be selling the PC and Mac there. I can add that into the admin section that I've got on Monday. So I could be oh, sell PC, Mac. So trying to keep things fairly fluid, and as you can see, it doesn't lengthen the structure of it too. So that workboard has been pretty helpful. So it actually took a little bit of time to actually step back and go, right, what are my problems? And a few alterations. However, I found that that's been a good system over the last month. In particular. So daily I have for some personal stuff that I just prioritize using custom sorting priorities. This is just really stuff that, for example, let's just say weekends are normally filled with daily stuff, but I do have day stuff that comes up, but because I'm now putting less in my today, like less in my actual day, I am actually able to still use the recurring tasks because they help with the routine stuff and it doesn't overload my setup as it would normally. So bins gets to stay there instead of having to go into like a static workspace. I still use Inbox in the way that I've used it since the start, really quite aggressively in just dumping stuff in there all the time. And a lot of these don't necessarily make sense straight away, but they're like prompts for me to start and associate it to a task or capture something to read later, etc, etc. But I find that Inbox is quite effective. It does skew my karma because instead of archiving or deleting my tasks when I'm clearing them from Inbox, I actually just tick them off because it's considerably easier. So for example, on this yesterday and Thursday was an admin day, so I actually bolstered through like 93 tasks. But in reality, the good thing is I can see that, okay, this is all grey space, which means that it's all admin and the work tasks are here. So anything that's green is work, anything that's pink or purpley, can't really see what that is daily stuff. So you can see what I mean by the sort of admin bubble that comes with it, and as you can imagine, it does obviously change the way that, you know, the karma is affected, but you get an idea for what days work for you at least, so that's pretty helpful. So that's pretty much my Todoist. I'm thinking of setting up a filter where I can only see, so for example here in today I've created a custom sort, which means that it's grouped by priority. However, I'm thinking of setting up a filter that essentially just shows work stuff, because if I have work tasks and 5 daily tasks, I don't want to see the daily while I'm working because I just want to focus on the work stuff. So having a filter that might be like today's work day or something like that might be helpful. So I need to create that. Let me show you the integration. So if I go up to the top right hand corner, press integration, you can see here that I've set up the work folder to be added, Todoist project synced with the day theme Google Calendar that I have, and you can see here that I customized it so that any new Google event that comes in is tagged with theme slot, and also 60 minutes does not sync with it, and I'll remove from Google Calendar. So that's only really a one-way sync. You can add another calendar if you wanted to, which might be particularly helpful for planning meetings and organizing them. However, what I'd say is the label's pretty helpful sometimes. So for example, if I sort it by due date, I can almost see the week of blocks or theme blocks that are coming up, which is particularly helpful for organizing that. So if I can go like this, bang, and update it. So really a huge change in the way that I work. It's weird how like something like this that I've sort of ignored for a fair amount of time has sort of come back and improved the way that I'm working. So I'm incredibly grateful for reconsidering my own setups, if that makes sense, because sometimes it takes a zoom out to actually like work out, oh right, it's not necessarily always a tool problem, it's maybe potentially just your framework problem or a tweak that probably will give you years and years of uninterrupted issues. I had this problem before. When I was like finishing university, I was still time blocking everything. So aggressively going today at 1:15, today at 1:30, today at 1:45 in Todoist, and it was getting a bit overkill. And I originally just started going back to a prioritization on tasks, and it improved. So sometimes you have these moments, and sometimes it's good to work out eventually that it's a framework issue, not a tool issue. So I'm really grateful to have found that out. But hopefully you found this video useful. It takes a little bit of time to set up, but no more than 45 minutes if you've got a bit of time to focus on it. But I definitely recommend the Google Calendar setup. It's just easier, especially when you've got meetings that you need to move in and around. But guys, hopefully that was useful. Let me know what you think in the comments below. It'd be great to see how you're using Todoist. So maybe we'll chat there in the next couple of weeks. Anyway guys, a big thank you. Hope you enjoyed today's video, and I'll talk to you all very soon. Cheerio.